The fall of an empire doesn't always happen with a loud bang. Sometimes it all starts in a silent laboratory with a single executive saying no. At the beginning of the 2000s, half of the world's population had the same logo in their pockets, Nokia. This Finnish giant was not just a phone manufacturer, it was the sole ruler of the digital future. Apple was still just a computer brand, and Samsung was trying to find its footing in the home appliance market. But deep within Nokia's R&D department, there was a device built in 2004 that was left to gather dust. This device was a haptic feedback, fully touchscreen revolution, completed 3 years before the iPhone. So why did the world never see this device? Why did Nokia lock this nuclear-powered technology in a warehouse? Today on Top Dynamics, we are telling the story of a $250 billion silence. You will see how a brand's success became its ultimate executioner, and how a single decision changed the course of world history. Get ready, because today we are not just examining the collapse of a phone brand, but the bankruptcy of a mindset. If you're ready, our journey into Nokia's dark corridors and the heavy cost of success begins now. Welcome to Top Dynamics. Here, we examine the brands, people, and inventions that shape the world through their dark and high-tech aspects that no one knows. Don't forget to subscribe to join us on this journey where we track strategic errors and the butterfly effect. In the mid-2000s, Nokia dominated 40% of the market. This was larger than the total market share of Apple and Samsung today. The Finnish giant was so powerful that it was selling 12 phones every single second. However, this massive success brought with it a great arrogance. Nokia management believed that the market would never change. According to them, people loved pressing physical buttons. Phones were only for talking and texting. The visionary team that introduced the game Snake to the world at the end of the 1990s was now trapped within the walls of the kingdom they had created. In the headquarters in Espoo, a freezing silence prevailed every morning. Engineers were bringing new ideas, while managers were only calculating profit margins. Nokia had ceased to be a technology company and had turned into a financial giant. This was exactly what they called the cost of success. They were so successful that they believed they didn't need to take any risks. However, in the tech world, standing still is actually running backwards at full speed. Nokia management had become blinded in the perfect world they created. They thought the competition was weak. They thought Apple couldn't make a phone and Google was just a search engine. This was the greatest corporate delusion world history has ever seen. It was during this dark period that a group of young engineers in Nokia's secret labs placed a prototype codenamed M5 on the management's table. This device was exactly the ancestor of the smartphones we use today. It had a glass screen, full internet access, and a revolutionary haptic technology that gave you the sensation of pressing a physical button when you touched it. The engineers were excited. They knew they had found the future. However, the board of directors saw only cost when they looked at this prototype. "This screen is too expensive," they said. "No one wants to touch a glass screen. People need to hear that physical click. They need to feel the buttons." The greatest strategic blindness in history occurred at that very second. Nokia held the future in the palm of its hand, but treated it like a toy and shelved it. This was the first flap of the butterfly's wing. If even one person in that room had said yes, the technology capital of the world today would be the forests of Finland, not Silicon Valley. But the silence in that room was the beginning of a $250 billion bill. The prototype was moved to a warehouse and dust settled over it. Yet that device was the weapon that would have ended the war before the rivals even stepped onto the stage. Nokia had shot itself in the foot. So how did things go so wrong in a company with such brilliant engineers? The answer lies in the corporate culture of fear. Nokia had grown so large that a massive bureaucracy had formed within the company. Middle managers were deathly afraid of giving bad news to top management. Reports about chronic problems in the software department, the slowness of the operating system, and the secret projects of competitors were filtered until they reached the top floors as everything is under control. During the era of CEO Jorma Ollila, Nokia had turned into a command and control chain rather than an innovator. Numerical targets were built like a wall in front of creativity. The hierarchy inside was so rigid that a brilliant idea from a young engineer had to go through the approval of 5 different managers, and usually one of these managers would scrap the idea to avoid risking their own position. A stagnation called perfectionism had begun within the company. Everyone was so afraid of making a mistake that no one tried anything new. This situation accelerated the decay beneath Nokia's high-tech image. No matter how strong a giant appears from the outside, this silent fear inside was enough to finish it off. Nokia's legendary operating system, Symbian, could no longer keep up with the speed of the modern world. Updating the software was an impossible task, like trying to build a modern skyscraper on the foundation of an old building. The engineers knew the system was collapsing, but no one had the courage to enter the CEO's office and say, "Sir, we must scrap everything." Success had trapped Nokia in its comfort zone. While they were trying to defend their old castles, their competitors working in garages were embracing chaos and rapid change. The company's software engineers spent months trying to integrate a single application into Symbian. Meanwhile, the flexible, open-source, and user-friendly world of Apple and Android was shining on the horizon. Nokia had become a prisoner of its own cumbersome past. The software code had become so complex that when they fixed one part of the system, another part crashed. This is known in the tech world as technical debt, and Nokia was crushing under it. The days of winning wars just with hardware were over. The new world was built on the power of software, and Nokia refused to speak that language.
On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs uttered that historic sentence on a stage in San Francisco. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. The world was mesmerized at that moment. But that night in Finland, a group of engineers at the Nokia headquarters were devastated because everything Jobs introduced as a revolution was almost identical to that dusty prototype Nokia had shelved 3 years earlier. In fact, in some ways, Nokia's M5 prototype was even more advanced. Nokia management, however, still underestimated this threat. In the first meeting, executives mocked the iPhone. It has fragile glass, the battery isn't removable, and it has no physical buttons. This toy will never catch on, they said. But the butterfly effect had turned into an unstoppable hurricane. People wanted more than just a phone. They wanted a computer that fit in the palm of their hand. Nokia was a world leader in hardware, but it failed to realize that the world had entered a software and application war. Apple was selling a lifestyle and a massive app ecosystem, not just a device. When Google joined this war with Android and opened its operating system to the whole world, there was no shelter left for Nokia. The giant began to be crushed under its own arrogance and clunky structure. The engineers who lived through those moments say that management still believed the fairy tale that our customers are loyal to us. Loyalty is the fastest evaporating emotion in the tech world. By 2011, Nokia's situation had reached a critical level. The new CEO, Stephen Elop, wrote the most famous memo in tech history to describe the company's situation, the burning platform. The memo began, "We are standing on a burning oil platform in the North Sea, surrounded by flames. We will either stay in the flames or jump into the freezing dark waters." This was the surrender document of an empire. Nokia finally admitted that the massive ecosystem it had built had turned to ash. But when they jumped into the water, it wasn't a rescue boat waiting for them, it was Microsoft. This partnership was nothing more than two dying giants drowning by clinging to each other. The Windows Phone operating system was so far behind the Android and iOS dominance in the market that consumers did not trust this new system. Nokia's magnificent hardware quality and legendary camera technology, combined with software that was difficult to use and an empty app store, resulted in a total disaster. The famous "Connecting People" slogan that had guided the world since the 1980s was now just a memory left on dusty shelves. The market value of $250 billion melted down to just a few billion. Factories closed one by one, and tens of thousands of talented minds left the company. The stopping of this giant, which was the heart of the Finnish economy, plunged an entire country into economic trauma. Now let's look closer at that secret micro-niche detail according to our top dynamics strategy. The touchscreen wasn't the only thing Nokia shelved. In their labs, they were working on cloud-based gaming via the N-Gage platform, smart home systems, and even early versions of the voice assistants we know today as Siri. However, every single project was drowned within the corporate hierarchy. Managers blocked every innovation by asking, will it affect our current sales, or will it increase costs too much? This is the darkest cost of success. Nokia lost a whole empire because it failed to correctly evaluate a small object, the M5 prototype. An engineer's dream was sacrificed to a financier's Excel spreadsheet, and this corporate murder went down in tech history as the most expensive mistake ever made. Nokia's laboratories had turned into technology graveyards. Yet if only one of the projects in that graveyard had come to life, the world might be a very different place today. Let's imagine a fictional alternative history scenario. What if Nokia had shown that courage in 2004 and introduced the M5 project to the whole world? Most likely, Apple would have remained a boutique computer brand used only by designers and artists. Google would probably have never even thought of entering the mobile operating system market because Nokia's Symbian ecosystem would already have covered the whole world in a modern way. Perhaps today we would be using Symbian 25 on our smartphones, managing our lives with Helsinki-based applications. The App Store culture would have been shaped in the freezing cold of Finland, not Silicon Valley. This butterfly effect would have changed not just a tech company, but the entire economic map of Europe. Europe would have had its strongest fortress against America's technological hegemony. But the real world rewards those who manage chaos, not those who play it safe. Nokia chose to stay in the safe harbor, but the coming storm swallowed the harbor itself. On that burning platform in the middle of the ocean, they were too late to jump into the water. The water was already boiling. Nokia's story teaches us this: your greatest enemy is not your competitors, but your past successes. The cost of success is blind resistance to change. If you're number one today, it doesn't mean you will be there tomorrow. On the contrary, it means everyone will work harder to pull you down and watch your every move. Nokia said connecting people, but it failed to stay connected within itself. It produced technology at the highest level, but lost the soul to sell it and turn it into a vision. This is the greatest proof that giants are not only destroyed by external blows, but how internal silence and arrogance can finish everything. That $250 billion silence still echoes today in the empty corridors of Espoo and abandoned R&D centers. The most dangerous thing about success is that it doesn't let you notice the moment it ends. When the lights go out, all you have left is an old logo. Although Nokia still exists today with its network technologies, those old glorious days remain only as a legend. Dear Top Dynamics viewers, in today's examination, we witnessed the invisible collapse of a $250 billion empire. What do you think was Nokia's biggest mistake? Was it just shelving the touchscreen, or was it the culture of fear and hierarchy within the company? If you were the manager at that table that day, would you take the risk of changing the world by saying yes to that prototype? Or would you also just look at the profit margins? Let's discuss this massive strategic war and the mistakes in the comments. Your theories are very valuable to us. Maybe Nokia has another hidden secret we don't know about. What do you think? Let's meet in the comments. If you like this video and want to continue exploring these dark, unknown, and high-tech aspects of brands, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Your likes and shares ensure that these kinds of deep research reach more people and encourage us to produce more content. Remember, the greatest destructions always start with the smallest mistakes. As the Top Dynamics family, we will continue to examine the cost of strategy and success, looking from angles no one else looks at. See you in the next strategic file to uncover the secrets of another giant. Stay dynamic, keep questioning, and never be afraid to jump off that burning platform.